So the four things that we're going to concentrate on today are copying a quiz from a previous course. That's only one quiz, not the entire course. We're going to set up a quiz using the multiple question types that Canvas allows for. We're going to create a question bank for quizzes. And then I'm going to show you how to grade a quiz in the gradebook. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is copying a quiz from a previous course. Many times you may have a course that you're reteaching, or you just want just one particular quiz from a course that you've taught in the past, and you don't want to recreate that whole quiz. So you can copy just a quiz from a previous course. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to click down here on Settings. All right, and if you've ever copied content from a previous course before, it's pretty much the same process. So over on the right, you're going to import course content. We're going to select the content type, and this is where you're going to say that you want your importing content from another Canvas course. Okay, so then you find the course name, and I usually like to type a few of the title, or you can type a few words from the title of the course or the course number, or look in your list. So this is where I'm copying mine from because I have a mock course that I have a quiz in, and I don't want to choose all content. I want to select specific content. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to click import, and then there's another step that I need to complete before it will actually import the quiz. I need to select the content. So when I do that, then I get this window here with all of the content that is located in this particular course, in that mock course that I chose. So I want to find quizzes. So here it says I have 6 quizzes. The icon in Canvas for quiz is a little rocket ship. But anyway, so I'm going to click the little arrow down, and it's going to show me all 6 of those quizzes that I have in this particular course. So I want to go with part 1 quiz, so I'm going to just check there, and that's the only quiz I want, so I'm going to leave all the others unchecked, and then select content. It takes a minute. It queues up the request. It takes just a minute to then process the request, and then I can go over to my quizzes on here on the navigation menu. And then you can see that now I have part 1 quiz. Now I do recommend this even if you have a quiz that maybe you want most of it, you like the way it's set up, you like most of the questions, and you just need to change a few, because then you can click on the title of the quiz and you can adjust some of those questions if you need to. So you'll click Edit here, and then the Questions tab. And then you can edit these. I'm going to go in more detail as far as how to, what to do with the questions, but you'll click the pencil, and then you can edit, or if it's a question you decide you don't need for this new course, you can just click the X button here, and it will delete the question. Okay, any questions on that, copying from a previous course? Okay, so now I'm just going to show you how to set up a quiz using the multiple question types that, that Canvas has. So I'm going to, again, click on Quizzes over in my course navigation menu. And as with most everything in Canvas, I'm going to find that the way to add a quiz is with this little plus quiz button at the top right of the screen. So when I click there, I get 2 options. I get Details, the Details tab, and then the Questions tab. So the Details tab has like the basic details and settings for the quiz. So here it starts out with unnamed quiz. So this, you might want to, you can, title the quiz however you'd like, whether it's by topic or number, or however you'd like to do that. Here you can have, you can add instructions for the quiz. You can add pretty much anything, as you can see across here, anything like a YouTube video or a picture, or if you just want to type in, this quiz is limited to 30 minutes, or any of the details you want to add. Okay, so once you have your instructions in there, or you can just leave it blank and not have any instructions at all. The quiz type, you have 4 options here. You can do a practice quiz, a graded quiz, which most of them will be, a graded survey, or an ungraded survey. So we're going to leave it on graded quiz. The assignment group here is based on the assignment groups that you have created. Now I have 2 here, and one is because assignments, the name assignments for the assignment group is the default that Canvas has in there, automatically. So you can change those if you'd like. And then also, since I imported a quiz, there is this assignment group of imported assignments, and so you can change that as well. But we're just going to leave this here as assignments. Now you can shuffle the answers. This is one of my pet peeves with Canvas at the moment, is that you can shuffle answers to questions, but you can't shuffle the questions. So shuffling the answers can sometimes be something you really need to think about, because if you have a question that has a multiple choice of A, B, C, and D, and you want one of them to say all of the above or none of the above, if you click shuffle answers, it will shuffle those 4 options, and your none of the above may be option A. And so you may want to think about how you word those multiple choices if you want to shuffle the answers. I do wish that they would have an option for shuffling questions, but they do not have that at the moment. Also, another option is a time limit. So if you want to set a time limit for your quizzes, or for your quiz, then you click the option for time limit, and then you type in the number of minutes. So I'm going to say this one is 30 minutes. You can also allow multiple attempts, and when you check that, then the system wants to know whether how you want to score those multiple attempts. So you can choose to keep the highest score of those attempts. You can do the latest one, so that would be the last attempt that they have, or average all of those attempts together. And here's where you put in the number of attempts that you will allow for this particular quiz. I'm going to put 2. Okay, the next option here is let students see their quiz responses. Incorrect questions will be marked in student feedback. You really need to think about this when you're setting up a quiz, because this is what the students will see, their questions, whether they're correct or incorrect, and you have to think about students sharing that information. So if you want them to see the responses, you can limit that by choosing one of the options below, where it says only after their last attempt, only once after each attempt, or let students see the correct answers. And that's just going to let them see as soon as they're available, which means as soon as the student has finished taking the quiz. You can also show one question at a time. This is really about how they show up on the screen for the students. So they could either, if you have this unchecked where it shows all the questions, then it's just going to be scrolling down, until the end. Or if they show one question at a time, then the students will have to click a next button to go to the next question. You can also lock the questions after answering, meaning they can't go back and change an answer to a question. Okay, you can also, under quiz restrictions, require an access code. This is a password that you make up yourself, and then you give it to the students, whether it's in an email or on an announcement or something like that, so you can actually require an access code. You can filter IP addresses, and I wouldn't really recommend this. This can get a little complicated, but it will restrict how many times a quiz can be accessed through an IP address. Okay, now assign to default, by default, it's going to say everyone in the course, and then you can set the due date for the quiz, and then also the availability of when students can start taking the quiz, and then this limits the end of being able to take it, usually until would be the due date. If you have a student who requires some additional time, you can click add here, and then you can actually find a student in the course that student who needs that additional time, you then could give change the due date here. It would be specific to that one particular student, so you can give them longer availability, but that would only be for that one student. And then notice up here, it says everyone else. So that changed as soon as I added a new student.
Angie, real quick, would it do groups too? So if we had a few people that had accommodations, could we create a group? Or we probably don't want to create a group with accommodations, so.
Probably not, but there may, well, no, it's only showing train. I would have to test that out.
Yeah, no worries. I can play with it too. That's kind of.
Yeah, and it's not, it may be that it's not showing up here because I don't have groups in this particular course. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can try that out. If you do test that out, let me know.
I didn't realize it would do to particular students. I thought that was just for groups already. So maybe it does work for groups. So.
Yeah, and this could be, a student has, a special need for extra time, or, if you decide they had extenuating circumstances in this one particular case. Okay, so now once that we have all of the details of the quiz set up, the next thing is going to be creating questions. So I said that I would be talking about the multiple question types here, and there are quite a few. So the easy way, of course, is to add a new question. Now, finding questions, I'm going to show you what that means in just a little bit. That has to do with the question banks. So you want to create a new question. You're going to click plus new question. All right. So this question field here, you can actually type in question 1, 2, 3, or just leave it blank, and Canvas will put in its own, which usually just says question. And then over here, the default type of question is multiple choice. However, you can change that to true, false. And each time you change this question type, you will then get a description for how that question type works. Of course, we know how multiple choice and true, false works, but when you get down here a little bit, you might have something like fill in multiple blanks, and that can be very important, because here it tells you exactly what you need to do, and in this case you have to use brackets and all of that, so it can get a little bit complicated. So Canvas gives you this explanation with an example of how to actually do that. But first I want to just go through each of these. So multiple choice, each time you do this, it changes. So you change the type, and then it changes how that type is handled. So if I want to put a multiple choice question in, of course, under question here, this is the editing box. I'm going to put a sample in here. And then, let's see, multiple choice, that's what it is. Answer, I need to add another answer. So here, I have my first box. Okay. All right, so then I want to add another answer. I'll just put 2. Okay, I'm not going to finish that. So you notice if you hover over the questions, then you're going to get like this little green arrow that changes. So you get to choose which answer is correct, and and Canvas will grade accordingly. Now, something that I tend to forget when I'm creating a quiz is that you need to put the point value for each question. So up here, the default is that it's worth 1 point. You can change this to be however many points you'd like. It's going to Canvas, the quiz is going to be worth the number of points that you have put in for each question added up. So if you have a quiz and you want it to be worth 100 points, you're going to have to think about, how many questions you have and how to get it to that number, which can be a little annoying, but anyway, okay, so let's click update question. And so then here is my question. Now, if I need to edit, of course, I'm going to use the pencil to then bring that question up again. And oh, for some reason it has 2 extra here. So I'm glad I edited it. Don't need that, don't need that. Okay, so then I can update question, oh, again. And here we are. So now you'll see here points 10. So it keeps a running total of the number of points as you add the questions. So I'm going to show you, I want to show you an example of one that of a matching question. Let's see, let me find it on this course. Well, maybe I did have it in part 1. Let's see. Okay, yes. So here at the bottom, this is a matching question. Now these kinds of questions actually take a little bit of time, and that's why you know, it may just be easier to go with a multiple choice question. But if you want to get a little creative, let's see, the students can go in and then choose. You have to enter each of the definitions along with the term. So I think I actually have that over here, but I'll show you kind of how to set that up. So here we have, let's see, matching. Okay, so here, build pairs of matching values. Students will see values on the left and have to select the matching value on the right from a drop down. So of course you have here the text of the question, and then this is how you just type in the term here and then the definition, the term here, the definition, and then you can also add match possibilities that would be distractors here if you'd like, and then the system will randomize the term from the matching right side. So there are quite a few options here. Now, one thing I did want to bring up is that if you have a question and you just want, you know, the students to answer with a term or give an explanation about something, I would always use the essay question. I have thought about times when it's, you know, a fill in the blank might work if it's, you know, a question that just has one term or one word that you're looking for. But the problem is when you do fill in the blank, it has to match the options. So here, if you have a fill in the blank question, you can enter different possible answers, but it's going to count even if the student capitalizes where they shouldn't, or you know, it has to match perfectly to the answers that you give here. So you'll want to think about that, and it may be easier to use an essay question for that, which then it just gives the student a blank area to type in whatever their response would be. Okay, so here we also have fill in multiple blanks, multiple answers, multiple drop downs. We went over matching. Numerical answer. This, see, it has to be exact answer or answer in a range. I don't know that we would have very many who would use that. Formula question. This is more for math. Essay question, file upload question. That would just be, you know, they would just have to upload a document. And then text with no question. This actually is more of a an area to kind of be like, you know, to have instructions about a new section in the quiz, as opposed to, I mean, it doesn't really have points. As you can see, there's nowhere up here to give points. So it's really not a question so much as it's maybe, like it says here, introducing a set of related questions or just a way of organizing the quiz. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. All right, so now I want to go on to the question bank. Now, this can be helpful. Let's see when I click cancel here. And then go to quizzes. Okay, so a question bank may be something you want to set up, and it follows you around. When you set up a question bank, it doesn't stay in one course. It stays with your account. So you can set up a question bank, and it just has various questions, and it may be that you're teaching multiple courses, and there may be a few questions here and there that would apply to more than one course, or more than one quiz in a particular course. So you can have a question bank and then choose questions from that, and that way you don't have to, especially you don't have to set up a new question. And certainly if it's a complicated type of question like the matching one that I showed you, it just saves a lot of time if you just have to set it up once. So the way that you create a question bank is in quizzes. So I clicked on quizzes, and the three buttons over on the right, I click there, and then the top here is manage question banks. So I'm going to click there and see I have two already. This is unfiled questions, which means I really just need to change the name of that question bank. But I created one here called Addie, and it has two questions in it. But I'm going to show you how to create those. So again, you're going to do plus add question bank. You're going to be given a place to put a bank name. So you may want to call it a certain course number, or by topic. Topic would probably make most sense. So you give it a name. Oh, where did it go? That was weird. Okay. And then click on the pencil. Why did it go away? I'm having some technical difficulties. Let's try one more time. There we go. I'm not sure what the magic was at that point, but so anyway, okay, we have topic 1. I'm going to click on the name, and then here is a good note to pay attention to. Remember, changes to question templates won't automatically update quizzes that are already using those questions. So if you go in and you edit a question bank and you're already using a question from that bank in another quiz, it's not going to update that particular question. Okay, so now I'm going to add a question. And this is exactly the way you would do it in an individual quiz. So I won't go through all that. I will just a little in here so we can have an actual question. And then update question. So then you'll see you can move copy question to another bank. You can continue adding questions from this bank. And so then when you're ready to use the actual question bank in a quiz, I'll show you. We'll go back over to quizzes, and we'll just go into one of these that I've already created. I'm going to edit, and then I want to go to my questions tab, and instead of a new question, we're going to go to find questions. And so then you'll see these are all of the question banks I've created, and it'll show you which course it's associated with right under. So here my Addie question bank is associated with SB 200, which is my sandbox course. Let's see, here's another one, ID 200. So that's another of my fake courses. So then you can it helps you to figure out exactly which test bank this is. So right now I have Addie highlighted, so then it has the questions here. I can either select all of them if I want, or I can just go in and click the little the check beside. I can tell it which question group I want to add it to. I don't have any question groups though. So all of the questions I have checked, I can then add to this quiz, and it's already there. Okay, any questions on that? All right. Okay, so go ahead, Greg.
This is probably what's next, but are you going to show like how to bring in a question bank? Like our book publishers often have question banks, and you go to settings and import, or?
I don't have a way to show that, but okay. Usually those question banks are part of. Do you have like some kind of file, like a?
And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. It's basically like it's a zip file, and it's been a little tricky to me. I don't know if I remember exactly how to do it, but you go to settings and where you import another course and you import a test bank. So A lot of times publishers have thousands of questions you can bring in, so that's sometimes helpful too.
Yeah, do you have one of those zip files? I'd love to test that out at some point, just
I'm sure I
because
can
that's
find
something
one
I
pretty
could certainly
quickly.
talk
Yeah.
about at some point.
Yep.
But yeah, so what you're talking about is importing the course content.
Yep.
And then like one of those types might be like a QTI zip file or
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, so some of those are LMSs, but like this is a zip
And
file.
it's interesting because the Blackboard export file is the one that I usually have to use. So it's not actually bringing
really?
in the whole course, it brings in just the questions. So, but yeah.
They must have created it in Blackboard
Yep.
and then exported it. That must be, yeah. So yeah, I'd like to, if you have one of those and can send it to me, I would like to test that out because there may be a lot of faculty who actually have those resources, and it might make it a lot easier. I assume there would be multiple layers to that import. Does it have content and questions, or is it only questions?
My experience, it's been mostly, it's just questions, and there's usually like a sampling of multiple choice, true, false, essay questions, and all kinds of things. And then that tough part is culling the questions you want to keep, because it brings in 200 questions, and you don't want to keep all 200, of course. But.
No. Let me see. I want to look at something with the question banks. Let's see. Yeah, I'll get that file from you and try to play around with that a little bit, because that might be a good session to have at some point if we have a good many faculty who have those resources and don't know how to put them in Canvas. Awesome, that's a good question. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is grading a quiz in Gradebook. Gradebook, they do make it fairly simple to do that, and I'm going to have to switch over to my other course that actually has some grades in there, or fake student. Okay, so I'm going to click on grades, and then I have this part one quiz. Notice this is the icon in Gradebook, meaning I have, as a faculty member, I have something I need to go in and grade. So I'm going to click in here, click on the little arrow. Now, the only time you have to grade a quiz is if you have some questions in there that need your review. So if you have some essay questions or short answer questions or anything like that. If you have just true, false, multiple choice, or matching, those are already set up to be graded automatically, so you don't have to worry about going in there. The system should automatically grade those. Again, if there are questions that the students get wrong and get 0 points out of them, you have to go into the quiz, make sure you put a 0 for that question, because it will the system will not calculate it if you just leave it blank. So okay, so now that I have clicked on the little arrow, I'm going to then go to SpeedGrader. And then I can review each of these. So this question 1 was an essay question. And so you go here and you put how many points out of 5. So those were all correct. This question was worth 2.5. So all of those points were awarded. I'm going to scroll down here and show you, this is that matching question. So each of these parts of that were correct. You can add any comments you want, and then update the score. And then it automatically puts that, well, it gave some extra points there. Maybe I just didn't add it right. So anyway, it's graded here, and then you, one of the submit is for the comments. All right, so that is actually graded, and then you can go to the next student, click the arrow. That one doesn't have a submission. Okay, so the grading part is pretty easy, especially, like I said, if you set it up to be, and that's what the quiz is supposed to, be something that you set it up one time, unless you have essay parts in there, you really, it doesn't require a lot of setup in the additional times you use the quiz. So that part on the front end of creating the quiz, it might take a little time to set it up. But if it's a course you teach, every semester, and even if you change some of the questions, you still have the groundwork there already taken care of in the quiz as it is. And then, of course, those question banks can certainly be helpful and save some time in setup going forward. So are there any other questions? Any questions about the question banks or grading the quizzes? Comments? Craig, if you don't mind, if you have one of those zip files handy, I'm happy to. I'd love to test that out, actually.
Sure. I just sent it to you. One question, and I don't know what the right answer is. I kind of adjust it. The points on the quizzes. So let's say, for example, if I have nice 10 questions,
yeah,
I can just score them all 10 points each. But sometimes I delete a question and then I have to adjust. And I've gone to assignments and just kind of weighted things under assignments, how much each one, the set of quizzes weigh, and not worry about the points on the quiz. Is that the best way to do it, or?
That would be my recommendation, yes. Okay. So, again, Canvas is missing a layer that like Blackboard and others have had as far as like weighting the assignments and assignment groups. And so then it makes it so that if you want, say for instance, one quiz to be worth 10% of the grade and another to be worth 20%, you have to go in and set up an additional assignment group for each of those assignments, and then there's just one assignment in the group. So that would be the best way to do that. And then you can have like the points value for the quiz can be anything. It doesn't have to match up to be 100 or whatever. You can give it that weight in the assignment group. So yes, that would definitely be my recommendation for that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Oh, you're welcome.
Neat to see the different types of quizzes. I really haven't played with the different type of questions like matching and those other things.
Yeah, I think most people use multiple choice and probably essay. I would say those are the two types used most. But sometimes you can even cut down on the number of questions if you have something like matching or some of that. So yeah, you can get a little creative with it.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Craig. Thanks.
All right. Take care.